This is why you should never reveal your baby's due date, because not everyone who smiles at you is truly happy for you. For 15 long years, Serwaa's life was marked by sorrow. She was married to Manuel, a good but quiet man who worked hard just to put food on the table. Together they lived in a crowded face me, I face you compound, where privacy did not exist, and every little secret became public news before sunset. Serwaa was well known in that compound. Not because of her wealth, she had none. Not because of her beauty, but because her barrenness had become the gossip of the neighborhood. Women who had children mocked her openly, and even young girls whispered as she passed, 15 years of marriage and nothing to show. She would cry silently in the nights, pressing her face into her wrapper so Manuel would not hear. She begged God endlessly, even if it is just one child, Father, take away this shame. Her heart ached every time she saw children playing in the dusty compound. Then one afternoon, everything changed. She missed her period. At first she thought it was just her hormones acting up until she decided to go to the hospital to run some tests. When she got to the clinic, the nurse smiled as she handed her the test result. Madam Serwaa, she said gently, congratulations, you are pregnant. At first, Serwaa stood still, unable to believe her ears. Then her knees weakened, and tears of joy streamed down her face. After 15 years of humiliation, God had finally answered her prayers. Her joy could not be contained. That same evening, she cooked Manuel's favorite meal and shared the news with trembling lips. Manuel was overjoyed. Though usually a reserved man, he rushed outside and bought fried meat and drinks for neighbors. In a compound where gossip had been her greatest enemy, the news now spread like fire. People who once mocked her came to smile and congratulate her, though some smiles were not as genuine as they looked. Serwaa laughed, sang hymns, and carried herself like a woman reborn. For once, she felt proud walking in the compound. But Serwaa had one weakness, her mouth. She trusted easily and believed everyone shared in her happiness. She forgot that not every smile meant love, and not every congratulations came from a good heart. Among the many who came visiting was Auntie Monso, a relative from Manuel's, her husband's side of the family. She arrived with fruits, hugs, and laughter. Oh, Serwaa, finally, God has done it for you, she said. But deep in her heart, she carried bitterness. Unknown to Serwaa, this same woman had been the hidden reason her womb had remained closed for 15 years. That night, Serwaa sat beside her husband and whispered with joy, at last, shame has left us. But in the shadows, a new danger had already begun to form. For sometimes, the people closest to you are the ones waiting to destroy what you hold most dear. The compound had not been this noisy in a long time. Everyone had something to say about Serwaa's miracle pregnancy. Some praised her for her patience, some whispered behind her back, and others only came around to see if the news was true. But Serwaa didn't care. She finally had a reason to smile after years of being mocked. It was in the middle of this excitement that Auntie Monso, her husband's cousin, showed up. Monso had always carried herself like a friend of the family, visiting now and then, pretending to check on Serwaa. But this time her visit was different. She arrived with exaggerated joy, clapping her hands as she entered their small room. "Ei Serwaa, my own sister. I heard the news and I couldn't rest until I came to see you. Oh, after all these years, finally," she said, holding Serwaa's hand too tightly. Serwaa, who always saw the good in people, welcomed her warmly. "Auntie Monso, you don't know how happy I am. God has finally done it for me. I feel like I'm living in a dream." As the both of them spoke, Monso started asking harmless-sounding questions. "So, how have you been feeling? Any sickness? Have you gone to the hospital yet? You know these days, women need proper care." Her voice sounded gentle, but her eyes were calculating. Serwaa answered honestly, even laughing at times. "Yes, Auntie, I went to the clinic last week. The nurse said I'm fine. They only asked me to keep coming for checkups." Manuel, her husband, shifted in his seat. He wanted to cut in, but he knew Serwaa too well. Once she started talking, it was hard for her to stop. So he only gave her a quick look, trying to remind her to be careful. Monso smiled and nodded, pretending to be satisfied. But inside, she was already planning. Serwaa was finally pregnant after 15 long years, and if she wasn't careful, her own mouth would become the weapon the enemy used against her. That night, after Monso left, Manuel turned to his wife. "Serwaa, my love, don't forget this, not every smile is real. Be careful what you say. But Serwaa, still lost in her happiness, only laughed and replied, Manuel, you worry too much. Monso is family. Family cannot harm me. The following week, Serwaa held Manuel's hand tightly as they walked into the small clinic not far from their compound. For the first time in her life, she felt like she belonged here, among women who were already mothers, laughing and sharing stories about their children. For years she had avoided this place because it reminded her of what she lacked. But now, she was here as one of them, and her heart swelled with joy. The nurse called her name, and Serwaa rose quickly. Inside the consulting room, the nurse smiled after examining her. Congratulations, Madam Serwaa. You and the baby are doing well. Just keep coming every month, and take your medicines as directed. Serwaa could hardly contain her excitement. She wanted to hug the nurse, to hug every pregnant woman in the waiting area. To her, this was a testimony worth sharing. When they returned home, the neighborhood women gathered around her, asking how the checkup went. Serwaa answered every question without hesitation. Oh, the nurse said the baby is fine. She even told me that everything is moving smoothly. God is too good. Her eyes shone with happiness. Manuel watched her carefully, his lips pressed together. He admired her joy, but he also feared her openness. The more she talked, the more people knew about her pregnancy. And in their kind of compound, where every word traveled like wind, he worried it was only a matter of time before the wrong ears picked something important. The next day, Monso came again that evening. She walked in carrying bread and groundnuts, pretending to be thoughtful. My dear Serwaa, I said let me bring you something small. You need strength these days. She sat down without waiting to be asked, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk. So how was the hospital? She asked. Serwaa's face lit up as she began to narrate her experience word for word. Auntie, it was so good. The nurse said I'm strong, the baby is strong. She said I should keep coming. Monso, you don't know how happy I am. Monso smiled politely, nodding as though she shared in the joy. But deep inside, jealousy tightened around her heart. Each detail Serwaa revealed gave her more power. That night, while Serwaa slept soundly beside her husband, Manuel stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. He knew trouble was near, and he feared that his wife's excitement might cost them everything. By the time Serwaa was 6 months gone, her belly had grown round and firm. She walked with a new confidence, one hand always resting on her stomach as though she was cradling the child even before birth. Every neighbor in their compound noticed her change. Some congratulated her warmly, others whispered behind her back, but Serwaa didn't care. After 15 years of waiting, nothing could spoil her happiness. One sunny afternoon, she wanted to go to the clinic for another checkup. Manuel insisted on following her, but Serwaa told him not to worry since he had errands to run. Don't stress yourself, my husband. I can manage, she said cheerfully as she left with her handbag. When she arrived at the clinic, the nurse ran a few checks and then handed her a small card. Madam Serwaa, you are doing well. If all continues like this, we expect you to deliver around the second week of September. But keep coming for your visits, and don't miss any. Serwaa's eyes widened. Her heart leapt with excitement. For the first time in her life, she had a day to look forward to, a day when she would finally hold her own child. She clutched the card to her chest as though it was treasure. By the time she entered the compound, some neighbors were already gathered outside, gossiping as usual. Serwaa is back from hospital, one woman said. They all rushed to ask her questions, and just as Manuel had feared, Serwaa spoke too freely. She told them the nurse had confirmed her baby was healthy, and with too much excitement, she added, she even told me my delivery will likely be in September. The women clapped and cheered, some sincerely, others out of curiosity. But among them was someone who wasted no time spreading the news beyond the compound. And like wind carrying dust, the information traveled fast. It was only a matter of hours before Monso showed up again, this time with exaggerated concern. She listened carefully, and when Serwaa repeated the date of when she was expecting her baby to be born, she smiled to herself. Outwardly, she said, "Thank God, Serwaa, this is a miracle indeed." But inwardly, she marked the month, the week, and the season. She had been waiting for this kind of detail. That night, Manuel noticed his wife humming happily as she prepared dinner. He looked at her and said softly, "Serwaa, sometimes happiness is safest when kept quiet." But Serwaa only laughed and replied, "Manuel, why hide what God has done? Let the whole world hear Mansour returned home that evening with Serwaa's words ringing in her head. The nurse said I would deliver in September. That simple statement gave her more satisfaction than anything she had heard in years. To others it was ordinary news, but to Mansour, it was the key she had been waiting for. You see, Mansour's bitterness toward Serwaa was not new. Long before Manuel married her, Mansour had always wanted control in the family. She enjoyed being the one others turned to, the one with influence. When Serwaa entered the family, loved by Manuel, Mansour's jealousy grew. In her mind, Serwaa's presence threatened her importance. For 15 years, Mansour used dark powers to keep Serwaa barren, mocking her silently while pretending to console her. But now, the story had changed. Serwaa was pregnant. The same woman everyone had mocked as barren was about to carry the family's next generation. Mansour felt her power slipping away. She could not allow that baby to live. Late at night, when the compound was silent, she brought out her hidden tools. On her wooden table, she spread a mat and placed a small clay pot filled with ashes.